Alright, so this is the Pixlr demonstration minor project. What you guys are going to do is follow along with me in this video, do everything that I do to get an idea for what Pixlr is, how to use digital editing tools, and just how to do digital art in general. So I will try to remind you guys to stop and follow along, but you will have to probably pause and play this video at your own pace so that you can follow along with me. So first step is to go onto Google Classroom and download this image that's on the minor project assignment. We will all be working from the same image. That way I can kind of see how you're using the tools and grade your assignment accordingly. So this is my boy Hobbs. He is my middle child. You'll probably have to open up the picture in a new window and then download it here. Okay, once you have that downloaded, then you're going to go to Pixlr. I put the link on Google Classroom for you, so you can just click that link there. It will open up to this page. So go ahead and do those things, and then continue on with me after that. All right, so we're going to create a new document. This is how you're going to be completing the minor project for this assignment, but then also these are the same steps you'll follow along for your actual project, except instead of using every tool, you'll just use whatever tools you want. But setting up your canvas, setting up the workspace that you're going to be using with Pixlr is going to be exactly the same for your actual project. So you're going to create new. There are some templates on Pixlr depending on what type of art you're making. Just keeping it this 920 by 1080 is perfectly fine. When you're doing digital art, it's usually a good idea to just make sure everything you make is high quality. That way you could print the file at whatever size you want, not have to worry about things getting pixelated or blurry and so on and so forth. So 1920 by 1080 is a perfectly fine resolution for this project. Title it whatever you want in order to remember what it is for. So keep that all the same and then click create. Okay, now we need to make our canvas size what we need for this project. So we're going to be, eventually making a drawing from these digital artworks. So we need to make sure that the canvas of the digital art matches the canvas of our drawing. So in order to do that, you're going to go to this crop tab here. Crop tab affects the entire canvas, so the whole space of your digital art that you're making, you can, rotate it if you want, and you can crop it to be the correct aspect ratio to match our drawings. So for this minor project and also for your actual project, you're going to have to decide whether you want it to be portrait or landscape, right? If you want it to be portrait, flip it this way. If you want it to be landscape, keep it this way. Up to you. For my demonstration here, I'm going to make it portrait, so if you want to follow along with me, you can do that. And then you're going to click Select Aspect, and the ratio we're working with here is 12 by 16. That is the size of the paper that we will be drawing on, so that's what we want to match with our digital art. If you chose to do landscape, then you'll just have to flip those numbers and put 16 up here and 12 down there. Okay, so that's it. Click Apply, and get to that step and then follow along with me after that. All right, so we're going to add in that image that we just downloaded. To do that, you're going to click this plus button up here, select image, and bring it up. You'll probably want to adjust the size of this image to match our workspace a little bit better. Okay, so when you have an image in your layer and you want to change things about it, this tab up here is the Arrange tab. This is where you can, edit the image very basically, like size, scaling, that sort of thing. So if you click this drop-down menu, make sure your layer is selected, it'll show you what you can do. So you could flip it if you want, you could rotate it, either using that or using the little toggle up here. But anytime you're trying to transform an image, size, scale, flipping, that kind of thing, make sure it's selected and then go to this Arrange tab here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do together is remove the background from this image. I want Hobbs to be just floating all by himself. So in order to do that, you're going to go to this Cutout tab. This will edit an individual image and remove, whatever it is that you want to remove from the image. There's a few options here. You can do like a specific shape to cut out if you want to, or you can do magic cutout, which is based on color pixels. So depending on how tolerant you are, you remove more colors versus less colors. But basically, if you just select a certain number of colors in your image, it'll recognize where those colors show up in other parts of the image and just take them all away. That's really great for like simplified images, but for something like this, there's a decent chance if I start removing colors, it's going to be taking away parts of my image as well. So I don't want to do that. Your best friend for this whole digital art process is the undo button. So anytime you make a mistake or do something that you don't really want to do, just to keep clicking that. All right, so since he's kind of a weird shape here, we're going to start with the lasso cutout tool. We're going to keep everything that we circle. So this is basically just you're making a circle around what you want to keep, and then everything else will get removed. So I'm going to lightly trace, just very generally his shape, and the rest of it goes away. So once you lasso him, you're going to then switch to the draw cutout. This will allow you to be a little bit more precise with areas that you want to remove. And remember, you should be removing. So click remove. You've got different sizes of brush you can use based on, you know, how detailed you're trying to be. And then the softness, what that means is if it's at 0, it's going to cut everything out like scissors. It looks like you've cut it out of a magazine. If you increase your softness, it will create a little bit of a haze from where you remove, and that will help your removal look a little bit more natural. So if you're trying to make like a realistic removing of a background or anything like that, that's probably what you want to use. So you are going to use this draw cutout tool now and go along and get rid of everything that is the background and just keep Hobbs sitting here by himself. All right, so quick note with this tool, if you accidentally like go in to your image a little bit too much and you want to add back in areas, at any point in time you can switch to keep and then go over those spots with the keep brush and it will add that part of the image back into it. So you can always kind of toggle back and forth between those if you accidentally take too much away. Another quick note with this removal, for your minor project, I am not grading you on how precisely you remove the background, so please don't spend an hour doing this, because I know you can, and you can make it look perfect, but this is just practice, and I just want you to learn how to use this tool. So do it quickly, you know, get up on him to remove the background a little bit nicer, kind of like this, but if you have little flecks of background showing, I don't care. It will not reflect in your grade. I just want you to get used to these tools and learn how to use them. So go ahead and remove the background entirely from him, and then we will do the next step together. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is add in a background, our own background, whatever it is that you want to do. Get creative with this. I really enjoy seeing what you guys can come up with, especially when you're editing my cat. If you want to arrange him now, you can. Like maybe you want to rotate him, put him in a different position, or maybe flip him. Looks like he's dancing. It doesn't matter to me. Just do whatever you think you need to do. And then if you are so inspired to think of a fun background to put behind him, then I want you to find that background. You could just use Google Images if you want, or you could add your own image that you have if you want to do that. Find whatever you think would work. And then just download that image to your computer. Once you have your image or images downloaded to your computer, you're going to add them into new layers here. Same way that we did with Hobbs. All right, so now we have 3 layers on our workspace, and layers are great in digital art. They help you keep everything organized and separated. You can edit them separately or together. It's up to you, but it really does help a lot. Your layer panel over here, you can drag the order of things to determine what is on top. So you can do that to make sure that you have your layers in the correct order. You can also toggle this little eyeball to make things visible or invisible. So if you just need to kind of ignore something for a little while, you can always turn it invisible and then bring it back later. Another thing, if I'm trying to change the size of my background here and move it around, it can be hard because it just keeps selecting the thing that's in front of it. I can lock layers, and that way it won't let me click on them anymore. So if I just want to move the background, I can lock my front picture there and I won't be able to select it. All right, so whatever images you added in, go ahead and arrange them the way you want to arrange them on the canvas. Okay, and then we will do the next steps together. So go ahead and do that. All right, so now we're going to adjust our images. That is a very similar process to what I'm sure you've done before when you're editing photos either on your phone or on the computer somewhere. The Adjustments tab is here. This can be a helpful thing when you're trying to merge two images together. So if I want like my cat to look like he belongs in that background a little bit more, I can change things like the color and the light to make him feel like he matches his background. So maybe he needs to be a little bit more colorful, or maybe he needs to be a little bit more bright, or maybe he needs to have a certain tint to him that you think matches the background. You can adjust my Hobbs picture, or you can adjust your background picture if you want. Whenever you make the adjustments that you want to make, just click Apply. Okay, so go ahead and add some adjustments to either the color or the lighting of any of your pictures. All right, now on the same tab at the bottom here, there are filters. So the adjustments are your color and your light tab. Filters will change kind of the quality of the images. So like, let's say I want my background to be a little bit blurry. I can add a blur. And that'll kind of make Hobbs look like he's more like the center of focus. There's some kind of depth going on here, so that can be cool. You could also make things sharper. Or down here, you can add effects like dark edges, or you can add kind of a weird coloring or lighting effect. So those are filters. So go ahead and add a filter to one or multiple of your photos just to show me that you know this tool as well. Okay, so you've made some adjustments, you've added a filter. The next step is to add an effect. These are a little bit more like Instagram filters, but sometimes they have some interesting, adjustments to them. So a lot of them are based on just your general color palette, kind of changing all of that stuff. You could apply the same filter to multiple layers, and that is another way to make pictures look like they go together a lot better. So if I go maybe to something a little bit brighter, I can apply this filter to this layer, and that layer, and that layer. And you can change the intensity of the filter if you feel like it's a little too extreme. But that's another way to make things look like they go together, is to edit them in a similar way. You can also go to this one here and kind of create some wacky effects going on. So apply a effect somewhere in your workspace, multiple layers, one layer, up to you. Go ahead and do that. All right, now we're gonna go on to liquifying. This is a way to really edit the shapes in your image and kind of distort your photos that you have here. So you can see whichever layer I have selected, it's going to show me the whole photo for that, because the things that you cut out might be affected by this tool, and so it wants you to see all of that. So this is how you kind of distort things, enlarge things, shrink things. You can apply it wherever you want to in your image. I need to see it used somewhere, so I'm going to show you how it works, especially because this is just one of my favorite things to do when I'm editing cat pictures, is to enlarge and then make the size about the size of his eyes. Sorry. And then you just kind of hold click and it makes things bigger. So same basic effect with shrinking, except it just does the opposite, right? It makes it smaller. Pushing, you kind of have to drag your mouse. So let's say I want to make his ears a different shape. Okay, so this one's just a little bit more funky. It's definitely fun. It makes your images more interesting, I think. So you can apply that liquifying effects anywhere at all that you want in your image. I'm just going to make his eyes even bigger. Okay. Anywhere you want in your image, go ahead and do that, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, next thing we're going to do is under this Retouch tab. So this is the tab you would use like if you're editing a portrait photo and you want to like get rid of some zits or like smooth out the skin or something like that. These are like your little repairs that you can do. The one I want to use for this project is the clone stamp tool. That one can be really cool. It basically paints with your image and you choose what part of the image you want to paint with. So quick note on this one though. If you have areas of your image that have been cut out, they're not going to show up, right? So let's say I click on Hobbs, I've cut out most of his image. If I'm using my clone stamp tool, I'm going to first choose the area that I want to paint. So let's do his face. And then my mouse turns into this little paintbrush. I can make it bigger, smaller, whatever you want. But let's say I want to paint his face over here. It draws from the image that I clicked, right, as my source, and it paints where my brush is. But that area of the image of Hobbs has been cut out because we cut it out previously, right? So if you want that to show up, then you would have to go back to your cutout tool, click on Hobbs, and maybe lasso that area that you just did that, and then you could bring it back. Right, so that's kind of complicated, and there might be a better way to do it. So I would suggest, I don't know, if you want to do that, you can, but I would suggest trying your clone stamp tool in areas that have not been cut out. So I'm going to undo that. Like, let's say I have his face and I want to paint his face on his stomach. That could be cool. And that'll show up because that part of my image is still there. Or maybe you could do something within the background, right? Maybe you want to extend areas of your background, or this is a great tool for like getting rid of things. So like, let's say you have a picture of a street and you want to get rid of the people, you can paint part of the street over top of the people, and that will remove them and make it look very natural. So I'm just going to give my ball kind of this hazing effect. So that's the clone stamp tool. Go ahead and use that somewhere, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so this one is drawing. You guys know how to draw. I shouldn't tell you how to do that. You can change the size of your brush. You can change the softness of your brush. You can change whether or not your brush is transparent. If you want it to be a little bit see-through, create some layering, stuff like that. Regardless of what you do, I would recommend doing your drawing in this empty layer here. That way you're not editing any of your images and you can, again, like keep things separate. So add either some drawing. Good mistake that I just made there. My drawing is below all my other layers, so in order for it to make it show up, I got to bring it up here. There we go. So either add some drawing, add some shapes, or add some text. Text tab is up here. They've got some like presets you can use, or you can write in your own text and edit it, with these tabs down here, so you can change the color of it, you can change the size of your text, you can change the font. Some of these fonts are premium, meaning you have to pay for them, so pick a free one. Okay, so either a little bit of drawing, a little bit of shapes, or text, or all three if you want to, but you only have to show me one for the grade for the minor project. Go ahead and do that, and then we'll move on. All right, so this is the last thing that I'm going to show you, and it is duplicating layers. This is really helpful for a multitude of reasons. You can do a lot of really cool effects with it. So whichever layer you want to duplicate, you can. I'm going to duplicate hubs because I think that'll be interesting. You click these three dots here, and then you click duplicate. Now you have two of the exact same layers, meaning if I make one invisible, I can still see the other one underneath it, right? So you can really create some interesting effects with this. I am going to use the one that's behind my hubs, and I'm going to make this one invisible first of all, just so I can see it a little bit easier. So I'm just using the one that's behind, and I'm going to adjust it. Oops. Let's go ahead and lock my other layers, that way I don't click them. All right, now let's adjust him. So this is the one that's behind. So I'm going to make him bigger. And then I'm going to add some effects to him. So maybe I want to make it look like there's a shadow behind this ball that he's standing on, which means I should probably drag him behind the ball too. I could adjust him to make him really dark. And then I could add a filter to make him really blurry. I could also make him a little bit transparent, which like shadows kind of are. So if I have this layer selected and I click these three dots here, I can change the opacity of the layer and make it a little see-through. Cool. So now when I make my other layer visible again, it kind of looks like there's like a cool shadow going on behind him. So that's something you could do with duplicated layers. Another thing you could do with duplicated layers is just by, duplicating parts of the image. So let's bring them, duplicate him again. And then maybe I use this top one and I cut out everything but his little face. Now I can just have a little Hobbs face floating around. And then maybe I could even duplicate that layer and have another one. So duplicating layers is fun. Do it in some way, either like make a cool effect behind it or like add other elements somewhere else. Just show me that you duplicated a layer somewhere in the artwork. And that is it. So that's all the tools that I wanted to show you. Go through that checklist that hopefully you have in front of you that I gave you in class to make sure that you did every single one of the tools that you need to do for this minor project. When you are done, you're going to click Save. Now, since you're at the end of the video, you should be finished with this one, which means you should save it as an image. If you are not done, like if you're still working on something and you need to save the file just to make sure that you have it for later, you're going to save it as this PXZ file. So that saves the Pixlr file, meaning if you open that up on a different computer somewhere and bring it into Pixlr again, Pixlr will recognize all of your layers and all of your adjustments and everything. It'll keep that information there. So if you're not done, save it as PXZ file. If you are done, just save it as a JPG file. You could do high quality. And then name it. Doesn't matter to me what you name it. You're going to be uploading it to Google Classroom, so I'll know that it's yours on Google Classroom. Go ahead and upload it to this assignment, and then you can turn it in. And that is your minor project. Now, before you finish this video, for your actual project, so once you finish this minor project, this demonstration, and you're ready to actually make your digital artwork that you're planning on making your drawing from for your actual artwork, there is one more step that I want you guys to do. I want you to save the image just like you just did, but then I want you to go back into Google Classroom and find the grid measurements. Under this assignment or this material, there is a PNG of a grid. You're going to download that. Then on Pixlr, you're going to add one more layer, and that should be your grid PNG. Okay, go ahead and make sure that's on top. and then you're going to line it up with your corners and pull it all the way down to the other corner. Looks like we need a little bit of extra room here, so you're going to need to turn off this aspect lock in order to drag the bottom down. Okay, so you should have each of these corners lined up perfectly with your canvas. Then you're going to click Save again. JPG, high quality, save. Okay, so the reason why we're doing this is we are going to be creating drawings, right? And in order to reference our digital image to create the drawing and make everything kind of the same, we're going to be using a method called the grid method to transfer everything over exactly. So by putting this grid on top of your image, it will really help you for the next part of this project. So when you're done with your actual project, you should have one finished digital image file and then one digital image file with the grid on it. So two copies of your image, two files, one with the grid, one without. Both of those pictures I would like you to add to your rubric assignment on Google Classroom. So I want to see your digital images when you're totally done with this project. I want to see what you base it off of. So I want both of those files added to your rubric assignment here. Obviously, you're not finished with the artworks. You're not turning anything in yet, but just add both those files here, and then you are totally done with the digital part of this project, and you'll be able to start your actual drawing. So that is totally it. Reference this video as many times as you need to in order to refresh on those skills. I also have another video on Google Classroom with even more digital editing skills that you can use. So if you want even more information, you can go to the video there and do some of that. All right, that's all I have for you.